Zoltun Kulle stood at his forge beneath Travincle. The black soulstone hummed, a wound in reality. Kulle crafted a shape that prisoned to mirror the hold all-cursed seven city above evils. The stone's geometry was no accident. Kulle's notes whisper of a final anchor, a shape that mirrored the cursed city above. His hands Kulle's notes whisper of a final anchor, madness shape hers that mirrored the cursed city above. The Horadrim called it triumph, but triumph for whom? The Soulstone's core bore no mark of Diablo or Balanli, a hollow, a shape that fit him asterisk. What did Kulle's creation truly trap, and who set the trap? The Nephilim sealed the stone, unaware they crowned a king. Kulle's alchemy was not defiance, it was Mephisto's design, a key turned in the devil's lock. Every soul poured into the black soulstone fed a prison shaped by the prisoner, not the warden. The Horadrim's fall was no accident. Their triumphs were bricks in a vault built to outlast the sin war. What the angels called a weapon, the devil called a womb. The stone's destruction in sanctuary did not shatter Mephisto, it birthed him. The age of Horadrim crumbled not from hubris, but from obedience to a script written in hellfire. How many victories are losses, dressed in the shroud of progress? The Horadrim sealed the prime evils in soulstones 3,000 years before sanctuary's dawn. Mephisto's prison lay buried beneath Travincle, its corruption seeping into Zakharim's faith like a slow poison. When Zoltun Kulle forged the black soulstone, he did not seek to trap a prince of hell. He sought to drain the void left by their ancient bindingstone, siphon the chaos spilling from the sin war's fractures. But the void was not empty, it breathed. Kulle's device became a conduit, not a cage. The black soulstone's hunger mirrored Mephisto's own, a resonance between architect and prisoner. Why did the demon permit this mimicry? Did he foresee his prison's shell being reforged as a key? The Zakharim cultists who worshipped the stone did not know they chanted to a double imagery, a mirror of Travincle's tomb, polished by hellfire. The sin war's storms did not erase history, they rewrote it. Kulle's triumph was a palimpsest, overwritten by a hand that had never left the depths. What if the black soulstone was not a weapon, but a message, a promise etched in the language of inevitability? The black soulstone's inscription is a riddle carved in shadow, asterisk, a vessel capable of containing all seven great evils simultaneously, a prison of infinite potential. Asterisk 7. Not one, not three, 7. The Horadrim who forged it believed they sealed the rifts, yet the numbers whisper of a design beyond their grasp. Zoltun Kulle, the mad scholar, spoke of balance, of binding chaos to order. But what if his equations were not his own? What if the black soulstone was not a triumph but a surrender? Kulle's obsession with containment was a mirror. He sought to cage the evils, unaware his prison was already occupied. Mephisto's essence, the Prince of Lies, had long since been bound to the Worldstonia fact, buried beneath Kulle's calculations. The black soulstone's purpose, then, was not to trap a devil already imprisoned, but to fragment what could not be wholly slain. The seven evils, not rivals, not prisoners, pieces of a whole, splintered and scattered, each a shard of a greater malice. Imagine the stone's surface, obsidian veins pulsing with a hunger that is not alive but asterisk aware asterisk. Its weight bends the air, a gravity of dread. Those who touch it report visions not of demons but of asterisk absence asterisk. A void where something once bled. This is no tomb, it is a ledger. A tally of what was lost, what was stolen, what was never meant to be whole again. The destruction of the black soulstone in the siege of Caldeum did not end Mephisto's reign. It merely scattered his shadow further. The seven evils now unshackled are not new entities, they are echoes. Fragments of a tyrant's will, each carrying a fraction of his hunger, and the stone's creators. Their names are etched in ash, for what Kulle built was not a weapon, it was a monument. A warning carved by a god's hand, left for those who would dare to rebuild. What remains when a prison is broken, not freedom, not victory, a debt, a promise. The black soulstone was never Kulle's. It was Mephisto's, and even in pieces, a god does not forget. The iron halls of pandemonium hum with a resonance older than Kulle's ambition. Beneath Travincle's cursed soil, Mephisto's soul had already been caged, a rusted vial of hatred seeping into the bones of the world. Centuries bled outward. The Zakarum cult's golden lies curdled into zealotry, their temples rotting from the inside, as if a shadow fed on their prayers. A journal entry in Cain's hand, buried in the D2 intermission, whispers of a poison in the blood of nations, not a metaphor, but a ledger. Mephisto's prison was never about containment, it was about cultivation. Zoltun Kulle, that mad architect of entry, did not stumble into heresy, he was heresy's executor. His black soulstone was no Horadrim triumph, but a mirror held up to a god's patience. The scholar's notes, scrawled in the margins of his crumbling manuscripts, speak of harmonizing the evil's discord, a pious delusion. Or a scribe transcribing a script already written by a darker hand. The stone's weight, when lifted, is not light but legacy, a vessel carved to channel, not chain. Kulle's final act was not creation, it was curation. Consider the geometry of his failure. The black soulstone shattered, yes, but its fragments did not scatter, they pooled, they waited. Mephisto's nature is not a flame, but a fungus island, spreading, digesting the very earth it touches. What if Kulle's prison was a womb? What if the Horadrim's desperation to bind the evils only gave hatred a new shape to wear? The iron gates of pandemonium groan, not from Mephisto's rage, but from the memory of his strategy. A god does not forget, but neither does it act alone. It plants seeds in the minds of fools. It lets the scholar carve the stone, the zealot burn the heretic, the hero swing the sword. Every blow is a brick in the wrong tower, every victory a prelude to the unshackling. The black soulstone was not Kulle's, it was Mephisto's, and even in pieces a god does not forget. It only waits for the world to dig its own grave. Malthael took the black soulstone. He spilled its contents like salt on a wound, evils escaped, souls were stripped. Yet Mephisto walked again, not as ash but as a shadow in Nerel's bones. How? The prison Kulle forged held nothing. Or held everything, a trap masked as a cage, a god's patience wrapped in a scholar's folly. Kulle's stone was not a prison, it was a ledger. Mephisto's debts written in the blood of those who tried to bind him, each captured evil a pawn. Each sacrifice a signature on his release. The Horadrim burned their triumph into legend, they carved his name into stone. They did not see the stone was his, he let them build it, let them break it. Let them believe they won. What is a prison but a mirror? What is a sacrifice but a language? Kulle's death was not a failure, it was a translation, a message to the world: you think you bury gods. You only teach them how to rise. Mephisto's return is not a surprise. It is a signature. The same hand that shaped Kulle's work now twists its remnants. The black soulstone was never a tomb. It was a clock, and every tick brought the world closer to the hour it forgot to fear. The question gnaws, if not a cage, why the ritual, why the blood? Why let Kulle carve his name into the stone's hunger? A prisoner bound by another's hand would not invite such a key, yet Mephisto watched, he watched asterisk. The Horadrim sought to bind evil, they found a mirror. Kulle's forge was no act of defiance, it was a script. The black soulstone's purpose was never to hold, it was to leak asterisk. Each shard, each fragment the Horadrim hoarded became a channel, 1,000 slow gates, not a prison but a language. A whisper taught to every soul who touched it. The shattering in Emhard's forge did not end the story. It rewrote the prologue. Mephisto's influence, once a single flame, now smolders in 1,000 hearths. The conflict, as always, moves on. No victory, no tomb, only the weight of what was never meant to be held. What did Kulle see in the end? A master, a god, or a scholar, pen in hand, transcribing the end of the world in ink too bright to survive? The black soulstone was not Kulle's triumph, it was a cipher. A riddle written in blood and starlight, its purpose to chain not a single demon, but the weight of all that seethed beneath the worldstone's fractured shell. Kulle's notes speak of containment, yet the stone's true design was always clearer to Mephisto than to its maker. A trap within a trap, the Horadrim believed they forged a weapon, but they built a mirror. Their legacy was never to end the sin where it was to prolong its agony. Did Kulle see this? His final scrawl hints at revelation, not conquest. The scholar who mapped the void may have sacrificed himself to delay the triple sin's reunification, buying time for a world that would never be ready. Yet the Horadrim, like all orders, grew blind to their own shadow. They clung to the stone as a relic of power, not a monument to failure. Mephisto's return in the Ashlands proves what the Worldstone's shattering could not. His essence was never bound. The Soulstone's destruction was not victory, but a punctuation mark in an endless sentence. The conflict has no resolution, only the illusion of one. The Horadrim's inheritance was a curse encoded in their first spell. A truth Kull may have known too late. Their names now fade, their works reduced to footnotes in a war that outlives all who wage it. The Black Soulstone was never a prison, it was a clock, and its hands have never a steep head turning. The Black Soulstone's shattering in Reaper of Souls was not an end but a pivot. A key turned in a lock no hand forged. Kull's designs, those meticulous traps for chaos, were blueprints for a gilded cage. What did the Horadrim bind sealing the stone? Not a demon, a script. The Sin War's true theater was not sanctuary but the void between heartbeats. Mephisto's prison was never to be broken, it was to be built. Each soul funneled into the stone was a brick in its walls, a vow rewritten in blood. The Nephilim's fragile dominion was the illusion, the real game, a labyrinth with no exit, only deeper circles. The chronicler's gaze now falters where it once burned. How many wars were rehearsals, how many deaths preludes? The conflict's teeth know it all who call it a battle. Victory is a word the victors carved from dust. Only escape or annihilation remained when doors leading to the same room. The clock's hands turn. The stone's fragments, scattered like seeds, sprout new chains. What grows when the soil is cursed with ancient fire? The Nephilim, blind to their borrowed time, build cities on fault lines. They name it he. Grief is the shadow of understanding. The chronicler knows now, the prison was never Mephisto's, it was ours, and the warden. A smile etched in the stone's shattered heart, cold in. What prison did Kull build and what clock did he set ticking? The hands have never a steep head turning. And if this unsettles the order, the next page of the codex asks who forged the first Soulstone. Kull's alchemy birthed a mimicry of power, a shadow of a deeper design. If the Black Soulstone was not his triumph, but a prison's key whose hand shaped that first key. And why does its lock still hum beneath the Worldstone's hollow heart? The codex waits, turn its pages. Write your heresy in the comments, the debate is the only light here. Hands have the never debate is the only light stopped here turning. A clockwork of ash and starlight, its gears forged in Kull's fire. Was he martyr or marionette? The Black Soulstone's void hums with dual truths on a shield, the other a snare. Mephisto's shadow hand shaped its cracks, guiding Kull's quill like a scribe bound to a cursed manuscript. The Nephilim, that unchosen bloodline, are the key, their divine taint a poison chalice. What if the codex itself is a palimpsest? Layers of truth scraped away, only to reveal the same old heresy, that salvation and damnation are the same architect's tools. You feel it in the stone's cold breath, the way its fractures mirror the scars on the world's bones. The Horadrim called it triumph, a triumph of what? Of blindness. The Soulstone's shattering in Mephisto's realm did not end the game, it reset the board, the pieces, us, the players. Pawns again, what prison did Kull build? Perhaps the answer is not who, but *y*. Why let the Nephilim inherit a crown of